Welcome back to the Meeple Marathon and our reboxing video for Role Player Adventures. So this was not a DIY storage solution. Everything in here was provided by Thunderworks Games. I came to the realization, I was saying in my unboxing video, that I was saying game trays, but they're actually not game trays. They're not quite as nice. The lids don't snap on quite as well. But for the most part, everything had its place except for really one thing, and I'll point that out here as we get going. One thing that just seems to have been overlooked here. All right, so there's the cover off. Everything fits in as it should, even to the point where there's some additional space. So I saved this white plain box here to put on top. This space is for the already out there expansion. So if you get that, you're going to be adding some books to it that's going to raise the height, and there possibly might be some expansions down the road. But if you have just this box like me at the moment, then putting that in simply just keeps everything nice and tight without adding a lot of weight. Plus, if especially if you were to choose to tip the box over, since most all the components and cards included are in some sort of covered tray, you shouldn't have to worry about that. But having no space for stuff to move around will help you make it flip over quite easily. So the top here is pretty straightforward. I've got all of my character boards here and all of the books. Now this is quite a large stack. This is where most of the weight comes from. You can see here that the I have the maps here underneath the rule book, and then on the very bottom I have the campaign sheets, record sheets, but basically all of the kind of 8.5 by 11 size material is there sitting on top of the Tome of Encounters. All right, and all the player boards are sitting here on top of the skill check book, your blank character class sheets, and then this smaller box here. And then what we have here is all the dice, the standard dice in the game, put in the bag, and then the bag's just kind of rolled up and fits in this space here. So let's quickly take a look at this box, because this is probably the one that people might have the most questions about, and also contains the one item that I couldn't figure out what to do with. So first things first, I do try and save these and keep them in the box somewhere. These are designed to keep your products dry, especially if you live in a humid climate like me. Keeping them around is going to keep your stuff from bending and warping in the humidity. So your familiars are meant to go in this box. At first, when I was putting the cards out, I was like, there's no slot for familiars. Where are they supposed to go? But they actually go here, and they sit on top of the familiars dice. So you have to have a familiar in order to get access to these kind of dual colored dice here. And so those dice fit perfectly in that slot, and then the cards go over top and cover up. Next, like the money and the XP go right here. That area is marked. Now we do have just a single spot for stamina, but you can see it's pretty easy to tell, but there are two different size cubes. So one's a single, and then this one is meant to represent 3 stamina. So when you start getting into bigger numbers, they only gave you one area to put stamina. So ideally there would have been a divider here, but it is what it is. All right, then there is a spot for your camp token here. This is nicely designed, so you just kind of push on it, pops up for you. And then we've got all of our cardboard tokens here. Now, I will say that there is technically supposed to be space in here for some tokens from the expansion, but since I don't have that, I've gone ahead and put the +5 stamina token is there. My 1 sentry token is right there, along with I believe these are the exclamation mark tokens, and then all of the kind of exploration point tokens are right there. But this slot is also a perfect size. If you have the expansion, the cardboard squares that come with that should go there. And then this is where you're going to put these wooden discs here. So if you have the expansion, you're going to have to pull out these +5 or 5 stamina tokens here and do something similar to what I've done here with the 10 stamina token, which is just kind of slot them in here with the stamina. There was no spot for these. And if you have the expansion, there's no spot for the 5s either, technically. Very odd that they just kind of left that out, but this works. They're just kind of tucked off to the side here, and they don't get in the way of you know, your stamina being there. So that is this tray. This lid does kind of snap on, but you really got to kind of push it all 4 corners down at once. It's very easy to just plop it on there. Now technically you're going to be putting a lot of heavy stuff on there, but if you did decide to tip your game sideways so you can display the box cover, you want to make sure that this lid is on nice and tight. So just double check that that's happening. Okay, like I said, all of the dice in the game are just gone ahead and put in the bag there, and that's placed there. And then we have our Tome of Encounters. It helps with everything else being on top of it if you put the spiral area of the book off to one side here, so it kind of fits in this gap that's provided here. Or you could, I could have, you know, swapped it around and put it like this, but having this empty space right here, so if you imagine putting the smaller box over here over top of your market cards, and then the dice are going to kind of fit over top of where your miniature is, they sit further down, sit nice and flatter, whereas over here there's not that gap. So, but just keeping your spiral bound off to one side so that it sits a little lower will help your Tomb of Encounter sit flat, and then everything else above it sit flat. All right. So really, this is all pretty self-explanatory. I don't even feel like I need to pull off the covers here, except for I want to point out there's 2 sections here, one here and one here, that hold the round markers and favor markers. So black goes here, green goes here. I believe the black ones are mismarked. I believe they're called faction markers, but and then in the rule book they're called favor markers. I'm not quite sure which one they're supposed to be, but that's where these go. Don't, you know, you're going to find them in this tray with like these other cubes when you unbox, but go ahead and pull them out. There is no spot for them in this tray. They are designed to go here and here. Now you'll notice there's an empty one right here. That is for square cubes if you have the expansion. Those are going to be in various colors, and you'll just slot them in right here. The cubes kind of sit in sideways, so they're easy to grab out, and there's an obvious cutout or bump up in the lid to keep those from rolling around. Other than that, all of your secret cards go in the one with the Role Player Adventures lid, stamped lid. For right now, everything's just still in its cellophane, and then there's a blank spot for expansion cards. All of your market cards go in this one, and the slots are all easily labeled, so you can put them in. And then I believe this is your class cards, and this is your modifier cards. Those are easily labeled. And then all of your monster cards, along with your 2-player or 4-player aids, which are the same size, sit right there at an angle. This space here, which there is a space to put cards sitting up, those are for earned titles, but then there's a space right here that just says hands. That is meant to hold your cards if you are storing the game away between sessions. So whatever cards you have acquired for your people, go ahead and stick them in here. That way you don't have to go through and find them again, pull them out of the market, and so on. So they just basically left a nice big empty space for you to pile your cards in there. Obviously the miniature goes there, and that's pretty much it. Again, there is a decent amount of cards in the game. There's a ton of storybooks and a little bit of cardboard. But again, the bulk of this game and the bulk of the weight comes from the books and the paper material. So it makes it pretty easy to store because they all fit nicely along next to this one. Here we can kind of go back around and show you what this all would look like put back into the box. So again, I'm purposely putting this one in this corner because this provides a little bit more area for the dice bag to settle into. So you you want that as level with this as possible, because we are going to put the player boards on there. This, we're going to make sure we put the spiral up against the edge so it fits into a little well. And just because this doesn't quite lay as flat, we're going to put these books in here, and that's going to help our player boards sit as flat as possible. And then again, all of our books, which are all the same size, so it really doesn't matter what order you put them in, and they fit nicely in conjunction with the player boards, and that's it. You can optionally take this and keep this on top if you don't have the expansion material. It's just going to fill in all that empty space for you for now, and then you can easily throw it away in the future. But there you go, ladies and gentlemen, that is Role Player Adventures Reboxed after you have opened everything up and sorted it out. And one final note is that the trays have plenty of room in them for sleeved cards. So if you want to sleeve your cards, there is plenty of extra room. You may have noticed mine, there's a lot of black space in between the cards. That's because, at least currently, and may never, my cards aren't sleeved. But if you are a sleever, there is room for them, and they're all going to fit. So hopefully this has been helpful, getting everything back in the box. So if you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more videos like this in the future, please consider subscribing to the channel. Once again, thanks for watching. Have a great day.